Thank God, David, we're talking about more Bioshock today, because this week we've been diving into the world of Rapture once again to see if Bioshock 2...
Are you proud of yourself for that one?
You know what? It was low-hanging fruit and Daddy's got to eat, David. But today, let's see if Bioshock still holds up in the year of our Lord, 2025. So we're going to talk about the game at length, how we feel about it, and then ultimately reach our verdict at the end of this video. For those of you who haven't seen our Bioshock 1 video, first of all, what are you doing? Go watch that video.
Would you kindly go watch it?
Would you kindly watch that video, please?
Please.
So David is a massive fan of all three Bioshock games, which we are revisiting over the course of a couple of weeks. But somehow I have been living under a rock, apparently, because I actually haven't played these games before, and I'm only experiencing this series for the first time for these videos. Whoa, boy, David.
Ooh.
So we've spent a lot of time with Bioshock 2 this week, and I'd say that as far as sequels goes, this game had massive shoes to fill. But I think that, and spoilers for the end of this video, I guess, it definitely steps up to the plate in every single way. What do you think?
I 100% agree. When I was replaying and revisiting this game for the first time, there was a lot I forgot about when I first dived back into Rapture and the Bioshock series. But it was a nice revisit to replay it again and just see the small improvements to the gameplay and to obviously the creepiness of Rapture. And I found myself just thinking about it after I stopped playing it, which is very rare for me these days when I replay a game, but I have been having a blast playing Bioshock 2. And it had some really big shoes to fill, you are right. And I think that they might have not filled them up in relation to a few aspects, but it's a still pretty damn good sequel.
Color me intrigued, David. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on that. But yeah, I just think that overall, like, you touched on Rapture, so I guess I'll just quickly talk about that. I feel like in this game, Rapture feels more underwater. Like, I can't put my finger on it, but it feels like it's not located above the sea level. No, but I don't know how else to describe it. It's like when you're walking around Rapture in the first game, you'd only occasionally see the ocean through the windows.
Yeah.
And I feel like you see it more in this game. Like, you feel like you are actually in an underwater city. But in the first game, it just didn't feel like it as much. I can't put my finger on it, but I guess there are also moments in this game where you can actually like walk directly on the ocean floor, which I thought was really cool. You're actually making use of the fact that you've got a Big Daddy suit because, spoiler, you play this game as Subject Delta, which is one of the original Big Daddies, I guess.
Yeah, it was a prototype Big Daddy, yeah.
Yeah, so...
First gen.
Gen 1. So basically,
Gen 1.
You're like a heavily armored protector that is bonded to a little sister named Eleanor, and the whole story of this game, I guess, so we'll just dive into that, is that you're separated from her and you awaken 10 years later. Is it 10 years? I think it's 10 years.
Yeah, so it's 10 years later, and I think it's set 8 years or 7 years after Bioshock 1.
Yeah. So, you know, you awaken years later to find that Rapture is in chaos under the control of one Sofia Lamb. Can I just say, David, when hasn't Rapture been in chaos, honestly? Because in these games, it's just like, I'm really curious. I'd love to see more of Rapture before it fell. And I just feel like all we've really given is just like, here's this promise of this utopian city and God, it's awful here. Like everyone's just miserable and cracked out of their mind. It's like splicers are running up to you like fucking Smacky Jackie, just like, give us your item, give us your item. But yeah, I don't know. I think compared to Bioshock 1, the story in Bioshock 2, I think that what they did with the story was really clever because the first one was more about intrigue and mystery and relying on the fact that you haven't seen this world before. But with Bioshock 2, naturally, people are already familiar with Rapture. So rather than focusing on the ooh and ah of like Rapture and all that stuff, or the mystery or the plot twist with Andrew Ryan, I think it's actually really interesting how they were just like, all right, here's the situation. You're a Big Daddy, you're trying to rescue Eleanor, and you're trying to hunt down this bitch. What are your thoughts, David, I guess, about the story overall in this game? And naturally, I guess, when you compare it to Bioshock 1.
Yeah, look, no, I really did enjoy the story for this game. It was a nice way to obviously revisit Rapture, especially 8 years after the first game, and just seeing it even more decay. It is interesting, obviously, the difference between the antagonists. Obviously, Andrew Ryan was mostly a massive individualist, freedom versus control, where it seems that Sofia Lamb, what she's trying to do, or her plot is trying
it's more
to...
like a cult vibe.
Like a cult, like you'll be hearing this name throughout your journey called the Family, and it seems like she's really trying to bring some sort of a very twisted way of a community back into Rapture. However, it just goes astray, it goes wrong, because obviously she has some very evil intentions in what she's trying to do, especially bringing back the little sisters again and trying to harvest more Adam. So I really did like the story. I really did like Sofia as a villain. You are right, the mystery behind the game is not there compared to Bioshock 1, and it didn't have that same kind of plot twist in Bioshock 1, which was there with you kindly. But I still enjoyed it thoroughly enough to keep pushing and keep playing it, especially with what Delta's goal is. It was just trying to reunite with Eleanor, and just finding, once again, the audio logs and just hearing how Eleanor's like a little kid, and it just for some reason that motivated me to keep pushing, to keep getting to the end.
I think the motivation was stronger, and I think that the story felt a lot more compelling and engaging rather than what's happening in Rapture, what's the mystery. Like, you can't, like, obviously you still care about it, and if anything, I think that the world that we're traversing through with Rapture this time around, visually it's more stunning. I think that the levels are designed way better and more intriguing and more unique, and you feel like you're seeing a lot more of the city than you did in the previous game. So I thought that was really cool.
Exactly, 100%.
But when it comes to the motivation of trying to get to Eleanor and trying to rescue her, I just think there's so much more relatable and so powerful as a motivation, rather than just like, why am I doing all this stuff? And then, but,
would you kindly stab yourself? Like, stuff like that.
Yeah, but overall, how do you feel like Lamb compares to the previous villains like Ryan or Fontaine?
It's hard, because as I did like her as a villain, and especially when she would just, taunt you throughout the story, it's hard to hold a candle to like Fontaine and Andrew Ryan, because I think the first game did such a brilliant narratively in making them feel like these guys are like the two head honchos. Especially with the stature. You have Andrew Ryan, who built this world, who wanted
just
this
felt like larger than life.
And then you had his counterpart Fontaine, who wanted to take over Rapture and take control from Ryan, and they had this internal battle, this civil war between themselves. When it compared to Lamb,
really interesting dynamic. It's like this war is going on, and you just happen to be in the middle of it, I guess.
Exactly. Exactly. You're just in the middle of it. And compared to Lamb, she's more, obviously, you can't have my daughter. She is mine. This community is mine. You can't take this away from me.
She's basically throwing all of Rapture at you.
Yeah. Literally, there'll be some points where she'll be like the demon or the subject Deltas in this part of the city. I call onto the Family to stop Delta. And then it's just shit out galore. You are just pinging people off left, right, and center.
Yeah.
So to me, like I said, very enjoyed it as a villain, but doesn't hold a candle compared to Andrew Ryan or Fontaine.
Yeah, I do have a couple more thoughts on Lamb specifically, but I think I'll probably save them for when we start talking about the ending. But I think just as far as characters go as well, I like that there's a couple of enemy characters or main bosses. Like each time you go to a new level, there's typically like a main antagonist for that specific level.
Like a lieutenant.
Like
so, lieutenant of the Family.
Got, like, Father Priest kind of guy. You've got that Grace Holloway chick. And I like that you can actually spare some of them.
I do like
I'm not sure how much of an impact it would or wouldn't have on the gameplay. I mean, for example, I spared Grace, and she was just like, you're not a monster, you're a thinking man. And she was trying to reward you and help you with ally security bots and stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool, that a decision that I had actually had a bit of weight. And some other characters that I really enjoyed though, so on, I guess, your team or your allies. So Tannenbaum makes a return, so she pops up at the start of the game, and then she just kind of disappears, and she just hands everything off. Yeah, she's like, anyway, there's this Sinclair guy. I'm going to just be over here. Don't mind me. And dude, I fucking love Sinclair. Anytime.
I love Sinclair, man.
I love the way he talks, dude. Every time
Wasn't it, boyo?
Yeah, he's just like, oh, well, look at you there, sport.
Just like, you're doing well there, sport. You still alive with me, buddy?
I think I said this in the previous episode. So I usually just, I have my headphones in while I'm playing a game, but I'm like listening to a podcast or a YouTube video or something like that. It's when I switch my brain off and I wind down. But when I play these games, I have to just play it with the TV turned up. I don't listen to anything else. And it's just so I can listen to the audio logs and listen to people like Sinclair. It's so charming and it's just so interesting. And I even loved hearing from Lamb and how she was like all the crazy shit she was saying. Like, I was sucked into the world. And I think this time around, even more so, you do get to hear some audio logs from Ryan and
Fontaine.
And like it's really interesting actually to hear Ryan reflect on the world that Sofia was trying to build and how he didn't agree with it and stuff like that. And I just thought that the lore was so interesting in this game, and I think it fleshed out a lot more that we necessarily didn't have all the answers to in the first game. So
100% agree. I love the audio logs of Ryan where you could hear him debating Lamb in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
And it seemed like they were just having like this political debate, which just drew me more into like what these two characters want, what's best for Rapture, but they just have both these two individual ideas of how it should be.
Yeah, you've got three main antagonists at this point, and they all kind of have very different ideologies on how Rapture should run. But regardless on who's in charge, Rapture just still feels like it's chaos. The same kind of, it's just this rundown place because no one could quite figure out how to do it properly, or no one could quite agree on how to run the place, and now it's just in a state of decay.
That's what Matt does.
But we've talking a lot about the characters. I think generally speaking, so a couple of more implementations in this game, the way that you handle little sisters are a little bit different this time around. I'm sure you harvested them all, you monster.
No.
But basically, they're a lot easier to find this time around, and it's a lot more involved, the process in regards to getting at them. Yeah, I just think aesthetically, man, they're just more creepy. But they also have big sisters in this game. Dude, they are fucking ominous. Like, I think that the only time that I was ever really scared or on edge in this game was when it came to the big sisters, because I didn't quite know 100% what the mechanic was, because I would just like, I'd return the little sister into the vent, and then a message would pop up as like, the big sister is looking for you.
The big sister's looking for you, like,
And I was just like, oh my God, what? And then like, you can kind of hear this tense music, and then like all of the screen gets a bit blurry. Yeah, and then it's just all of a sudden you're just fighting this really quick version of essentially a big daddy, and oh my God, it was
much tougher though.
Much tougher, dude. I like this tense kind of feeling of like, okay, like I know that narratively I need to rescue all these little sisters and get all this Adam, but man, I felt so tense because I knew that every time I put a little sister back into the van, it's like, is this going to be the time that the big sister's going to pop up? I'm scared. But yeah, so I thought that was a really cool inclusion in this game as well. So
yeah, and I did like it. Obviously gameplay wise, it made sense because you are a big daddy, and you do feel like you're a tank with machine gun, and you can hold up your own against the splices and other big daddies as well. I found out when you would fight other big daddies, you could take them down a lot easier than when you would Jack back in Bioshock 1. So it made sense that they had to bring in this fast, agile, extremely powerful mini boss that would just come and hunt you down once you obviously cleared all the little sisters away.
Yeah, I guess speaking about that, let's actually talk about the gameplay a little bit.
Yeah.
So as a big daddy in this game, so you became a big daddy at the end of the last game, but I never really felt like I was a big daddy. This game, you feel like a big daddy. You're a big daddy with a big drill, wants, baby.
Daddy gets.
I fucking love the drill. And I think that
I love the drill.
Across the board, I just think that all of the guns in this game feel so much better than the previous game. And just generally, the gunplay feels more like an FPS. It's
100%.
Improved, and I enjoyed it a lot more playing on the PlayStation 5 and on a console with the controller. It just overall felt better. Slight changes in the controls, but can I just quickly say, the enemy AI as well, I think is a lot more improved. And I think that like rather than just like randomly sprinting at you like they would in the previous game, the splices just seem to think a little bit more now, and they throw more things at you, and it prompts you to use your plasmids more, I think.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. I think the gameplay is an overall improvement from Bioshock 1, especially with the combat system. Now you can obviously dual wield a gun and your plasmids instead of obviously just swapping between them. I really do like that. I do like the changes to the AI. I felt like a lot of them in Bioshock 1 would just run at you. They would just run away and then just sprint towards you. These guys felt a little bit more smarter, especially with the different splicer types. Like you had the brute splicer, the spider splicer, the Houdini splicer, and then your everyday splicer. They would just obviously use different tactics to, one, surround you and obviously keep their distance while trying to pick you off, or they would just surround you and just start coming out from behind you. So 100% agree with your forte that the gunplay and the gameplay feels a much step up from the previous entry.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite weapon this time around?
Yeah, I did. I had two. So I had the rivet gun.
The rivet gun is so good.
I just, especially when you upgrade to its full potential, and then you have like
how it like lights people on fire.
A fire. I was like, I'm in heaven. And then the next one was the double barrel. I love the double barrel.
The shotgun's just classic, dude. When I first got it, I didn't like it as much as the one in the first game, but once you fully upgrade it and you get like the Tesla, like the
and the 6 shell shots.
Oh, dude, it's so good. And also the phosphorus ammo. Like I just thought that the ammo in this game was a lot more creative and diverse, I thought. And you know, props to the fact that we have like just a normal rocket launcher. We have a spear gun. We have the hacking gun as well.
Yes,
I thought that it was cool how you can just like aim at something and shoot and hack something from afar. I thought that was pretty clever.
Or auto hack it.
Oh, the auto hack was great. I will say though, so the hacking has been streamlined this time around. I'm not sure if I like it as much as the previous game though. I felt like it's more just, just time this needle. But
just time this needle.
I don't know. It made it easier, I think. But personal preference. But
I liked it. It just felt like the gameplay flowed a lot better because when you do it in the first one, it just takes you out of it. You have to do this mini game. With this, you can just hack on the go and keep moving, essentially.
100%. And I felt like there was more of a need for plasmids. And I think that overall, and this is why I had such a good time in this game, because I felt like everything had a place, everything felt more cohesive, and I was more regularly using pretty much the whole game systems. And following up from our previous video, you said something about researching. This time, I researched like crazy.
And it's even better in this game.
Yeah, dude. I took photos of, or took film, I should say, of absolutely everything. And to the point where the camera just wouldn't recognize anything I was looking at anymore because I was just I was just taking photos of everything at one point. I was like, this is a game changer. I don't know how I didn't do that with Bioshock 1 as much as I did in this game. It's genuinely such a great feature, dude. I was basically taking film before every time I fought someone. It was just so rewarding and it makes you so much stronger. And yeah, I'm really glad I did it.
Yeah, 100%. It is worth just taking that quick film and just experimenting. It really does reward you for experimenting with using different plasmids, different weapons, just so you can obviously get a higher score so you can find out more damage or what makes the splices tick in a way that you can use to your advantage.
Yeah, and I also felt like the genes in this game were a lot more diverse, but a lot more useful. There's this one gene that I had equipped and I thought it was so good. So you can have one that increases your speed, one that increases. There was a lot that was actually focused on the drill, which I really liked. And there's one that you can make it freeze people when you're attacking them.
Yes.
And I thought that was so cool. I used it so much, dude. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that they did a really great job with building upon the features that were in Bioshock 1 and make it feel natural. But let's start moving on to talking about the ending though, because I actually think the ending of this game was quite underwhelming compared to the first game. I felt like I thought it was okay. So in this game, I think I prefer like 80 to 90% of this game than I do with Bioshock 1, spoiler for the end of the video. But in concept, the Sofia Lamb turn where she's basically just like, fuck it, I'm going to sink the Fontaine facility building. And it's like, if you're going to kill me, I'm going to take you down with me.
We'll do it live, fuck it. Do it live.
But the thing is, like, you never end up really having that conclusive showdown with Sophia. It's more just in a cutscene, which I understand.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to fight this like juiced up grandma. I don't know, this motherly figure. You're not going to slap her about. But the thing is, the execution was just a little weaker and a little emptier than the interactions that you would have with Ryan or Fontaine in the previous games. Like, they felt like real set pieces, and I felt like this game just didn't really have as much of like that set piece design as the first game did, because I think that the first game was built more around like the reveals, but there weren't really ever too many reveals. I mean, like, the biggest set piece I'd say in this game is, when Sophia's trying to flood. I think it's she floods the plaza, and you got to walk through this floating destruction.
Yes.
Even though you're in a diving suit, like it's really like adrenaline pumping, and you're trying to get back to the train. The whole place floods, and you're just walking through and seeing all the carnage from it. Like, stuff like that was really, really cool, dude. But moments like that were very few and far between.
Agreed.
But I don't know. I guess the ending, Sofia Lamb's just like, well, it looks like you're trying to rescue Eleanor, so why don't I throw not one, but two big sisters at you? It's like, whoa! Oh my God! So I feel like that's as close as we got to a boss fight with her. But overall, what did you think of the ending of this game?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's hard to try, and I think it's hard in general how you can end a sequel, and it did feel lackluster compared to Bioshock 1, because I felt like with Bioshock 1, the anticipation of Ryan, and the anticipation of obviously Fire and Fontaine, and that's big reveal, anticipation of me and Sophia, and then she's like, well, check it out, not one big sister, but two universos. But by the time, man, if you've been doing everything, you kind of feel like you're kind of unstoppable at the moment, and you can just with your plasmas and your upgrade weapons, you can just go through them like just a hot knife through butter.
Yeah, the power scaling in this game is really good.
Yeah, power scaling, it literally, Delta is an OG, so
Delta becomes the alpha, am I right? The
alpha. And then obviously you confront Sophia, and she's like, well, guess what? You're just gonna die with me when I flood this whole area. And you're like, I'm in an iron suit, I can breathe in the water. This makes no sense. Logically, you just committed suicide. It's fine.
Yeah. Like, no matter what happens, I'm fine here in this scenario.
Oxygen tank, I'm good. So yeah, it did kind of felt like it was, a little lackluster, depending on how you played the game with your choices of harvesting or saving the big sisters, or little sisters, and who you obviously saved throughout the family. It kind of just ends, I think, in the same way that Bioshock 1 ends in a way. When I mean, like, you can either save all little sisters and, Jack
I see what you mean.
Jack raises them, or in this game you save all the little sisters, and then your consciousness gets merged with Eleanor, and Eleanor's like, I'm gonna raise all these little sisters myself and make the world a bigger and better place. Or vice versa, is like, if you were just killing them all, she's like, I'm gonna dominate the world. World domination is now mine.
Can I just say, I mean, I obviously love the idea that, no matter what happens when you come out, like, Eleanor was just trying to like fuse your consciousness with her body or something like that. Like, obviously that's a very sweet and touching moment, but goddamn, dude, fucking Subject Delta is going to hate that when she starts dating other boys, and she is fully aware of everything that she's doing when she starts dating.
I didn't even think about that. Oh my God.
He's like, I don't want to see.
You call that a drill?
But yeah, so the endings, it's more or less like a variation of some sorts of two different cutscenes. I believe that in total there's it's basically like one of 8 different endings that you can get. But more or less it's basically Sophia dies or Sophia gets saved. And then the other alternative or tweak on top of that is if Eleanor is basically good or bad, and if the little sisters are saved or not. So I don't know. I do think that that's interesting, and it's tied off nicely. It's a nice little episode into this story that is Rapture, I guess. Execution, like I said at the start of this little segment, I guess that I reckon 80 to 90% of this game is way better than, but just as far as the ending goes, I do think that I was more invested with the actual ending of the first game. I thought that it was just a little bit more interesting to me. But you know what else I do find very interesting, David? Well, there was one more thing I wanted to bring up. Yeah, go for it.
Surprisingly, believe it or not, it's not included with the Bioshock collection, Bioshock 2 actually had a multiplayer.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's right. Did you ever play that back in the day?
I did play it, and I did revisit a few old school videos, which were in very off-putting, like 480p to 720p. So it was like, what am I looking at?
I can't believe I forgot about that.
Is that a gun? And you reminded me of it when you brought up that you like to see more of Rapture prior to it going downhill. But the Bioshock 2 multiplayer was introduced as a standalone multiplayer experience set during Rapture's fall. Essentially, you could pick two teams. You could be fighting for Andrew Ryan or Fontaine and gaining plasmids throughout the match. It wasn't popular. It didn't really last well, but from what I remember playing it, I did have fun with it. The one thing I do remember that I quite like is when you could become a big daddy and then just completely destroy everyone else in the game.
Oh, that's sick. It's kind of like Titanfall by the sounds of it.
I mean, you could say that. It was a rough Titanfall, but did want to just mention that. However, the collection does not obviously have that, since the multiplayer experience wasn't that popular to begin with.
Kind of like the Assassin's Creed Ezio trilogy that came out for next-gen consoles, the remaster. Naturally, the multiplayer wasn't included with these games, but I just wish I could go back in time and play when they were still popping off, you know?
God,
like just the
I miss
original
the Assassin's Creed multiplayer.
Yeah, but you know what? Bioshock 2 might not have multiplayer anymore in the Bioshock collection, but you know what it does have, Dave?
What does it have?
Oh, it has some Easter eggs, buddy!
Yes!
Yeah, no. So I think that there's actually a fair few Easter eggs in this game, so I narrowed it down to just a few to go through with you today.
Okay.
Are you excited, David?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm pumped.
I want some of those Easter eggs in my mouth.
I'm about to shove 4 right in your gob right now. Ooh. So first Easter egg, David. So in the level of Ryan's Amusements, there is a stage display of Ryan sitting at his desk. And if you have the skill telekinesis and use it on the golf club sitting in the corner of the room, you can actually throw it at his head. And if you do so, David, you'll unlock a hidden achievement or trophy called 9 Irony, which of course is a reference to how you defeated Andrew Ryan in the first Bioshock game.
I never knew that. That is so cool. I never knew that.
Yeah, dude, I had no idea as well. I looked it up and I was like, oh man, I didn't even realize that the golf club was there.
To be honest, I never even thought that could be done. That's actually really, that's a cheeky reference right there.
It was very, very cool. And next up, in the level Dionysus Park, you can melt away some ice to reveal a frozen cat called Schrodinger. This sounds like a reference to that famous thought experiment called Schrodinger's cat David. Bit of a random inclusion, but yeah, it's just a fucking frozen cat called Schrodinger.
Yeah, wow, okay, that's a very niche reference, I would say. Very random and niche.
Yes. Moving on to number 3. So now this one might not be considered much of an Easter egg, as it's just kind of weird, but I found it really interesting. So in the mission of Fontaine's Futuristics, you can find a multicolored glowing plasmid, and this is called the Unstable Teleport Plasmid. So I went to pick it up and it teleported to another location. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of funny. So I kept following it around the level and I kept trying to pick it up about 3 or 4 more times. And finally, I tried picking it up from this couch and it actually teleports you to this really trippy cutscene where it was actually kind of creepy. Like at one point you're like teleported to this room with a splicer standing around. The next you're like teleported to this room where there's this like dead splicer and this message written on the wall in blood. But then you're finally teleported to this dark room with all of these like statues around this centerpiece. And you can actually pick up the Vending Expert 2 plasmid. After doing some research, David, it turns out that the developers had some trouble putting in the teleporting plasmid into the game properly, so this is their little way of including it in the game. So I thought that was really cool. It was just included kind of like a little Easter egg. So yeah, I found that very interesting. And
cute. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. And for the last Easter egg, if you use the swarm plasmid against splicers, you'll occasionally hear them yelling out, "Not the bees! Not the bees! Anything but the bees!" Which
I know this reference.
Which is in reference to one of Nicolas Cage's most iconic performances from the hit movie
The Wicker
Man. Wow, very cool.
Oh, they're in my eyes.
We only get talent like that once every generation.
Oh, you know what? I'll let that man steal the Declaration of Independence.
So David, that has been the Easter eggs in Bioshock 2. How crazy was that? But you know what's even more crazy, David? I think it's about time that we tell the good folks the verdict on whether Bioshock 2 still holds up in the year of our Lord 2025. David, do you think that this game still holds up today?
Well, if for our viewers, if you haven't guessed it by now, the answer is a resounding yes.
I wonder what our opinion is. It's just been so negative this whole time.
This game is a masterpiece that needs to be played. The gameplay is massively improved from the previous game. However, the story is not quite holds up as well as the first one. However, you're still going to find a lot to love and a lot to do and a lot to experience playing this game for the first time. Or if you're revisiting it again, you can get this game dirt cheap with the Bioshock collection, and you will be doing yourself a disservice if you don't get to experience this game at least once.
100% agree with you. Like, I love this game and I enjoyed it slightly more than Bioshock 1, so I definitely think that it holds up. And I also think that the gameplay is a little bit more, it's more timeless in this game. The overall experience is more consistent, and I do agree that I do think in some areas that the story is probably a little bit weaker. Like for me specifically,
it's still a good story.
It's still
a good story.
Bloody better story than most of the bloody games that come out.
Am I right, fellas? Mine's
am I right? No, but I just think that overall it's an incredible story. But I just think that the execution was more consistent, even if it falters a little bit towards the end. I wouldn't recommend that anyone plays this game, of course, without playing Bioshock 1 first. But yeah, I just think that this game definitely holds up more than Bioshock 1 specifically, even though I wouldn't recommend that you play it until you've played Bioshock 1. So overall, I think it still holds up in 2025. But David, I think that pretty much wraps it up there. Next week, we're not going to be recording an episode because David, that son of a bitch, is going to be away. So
hey man, I'm on vacation. I'm on vacation.
Talk to the hand. It's vacation. It's weekend at Bernie style, David, right now. But I'm potentially going to put something together for David's week off. However, we'll be shortly revisiting Bioshock Infinite after that, which I cannot wait for, because that's the one that I've had a little bit of experience with, aka 1 hour. But I can't wait because I love the world in Bioshock Infinite, and I can't wait to sink my teeth into that game.
I can't wait to revisit Infinite. I've been so excited just to go back to it because it's just so good. Just want to grab it and play with it again. So I'm excited to have that discussion with you in not next week's episode, the week after.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys. We really appreciate it. And hey, if you think that this game still holds up, or if you don't, or if you think that it's better than Bioshock 1, please let us know in the comments below.